Hello, I'm Tanya Abrego, part of the implementation team here at Celerant, and I'm looking forward to showing you from the back office to the service module to the point of sale, all things range and the things that are associated with that. So we'll talk about waivers, memberships, and training classes, and setting up all of your resources for those. And we'll touch on recurring billing shortly for a little bit as well. So when you get into your back office, you're going to be revisiting a lot of or a place where you kind of, you're not here often, but when you set up this system originally, and that's under admin and then system config. And I'm going to click on one of my stores here and then edit the store information. And if I scroll down, you'll see there's a whole section right here that references everything to do with settings for the range. So I begin assigning customers to my range at 6 a.m., ending at 9 p.m. And you'll see another section here that's asking about days and times as well. This is specifically for online range reservations. So you may open the range early so that maybe a local, local law enforcement or a security company or something like that, they come in early. So you want to be able to block off time for the range, but maybe you're not open to the public until 9 or 10 a.m., something like that. So these are the hours that you would show if you integrated with a website and allowed people to book reservations online. So it's a similar question, but kind of for two different purposes here and then at this section here at the bottom. The increments in time is how it's going to display on your range management screen. 30 minutes is most typical. I'll show you what it looks like and you can see why you may not want to go much lower than that. People go maybe 15 minutes. I think it gives you the option to go as low as 5, but typically 30 minutes is what makes that screen most manageable. And when I show that to you, it'll make a little more sense. The default requested time for range check-in. So I have mine set to 60 minutes. That's typically what most customers assign as standard in the range. But you can either leave that blank and it will just always ask you how much time, or if you do 60 minutes and 30 minutes, you can choose one, and then it's very quick and easy to type in a different amount of time there. The system will alert you when a customer in the range is nearing their time being up, and then also again once they are past their allotted time. So I'm going to say that I want it to be 5 minutes before a customer is done, and then 5 minutes after. I want to pop up on my system so that I can alert a customer that they're almost done, and then after the fact that I can alert them that they are in fact over their time and we're going to need them to go ahead and wrap up. So you can use one or both of those. And then what waiver is required? So the system does allow you to enter waivers, and you can assign certain waivers to certain things. So for the range, I have the range waiver form assigned, meaning that a customer has to have that checked that they have a range waiver in order for me to close out any transaction and assign them a lane at the range. Now we have basic, waiver management in our system. It's not super complex, but it does do the job if you're used to using paper waivers. We also integrate with Auto Waiver and Smart Waiver. We have a lot of range clients that use that integration and like it for kind of a myriad of reasons. I'll bring it up occasionally as I walk you through the range module, but just kind of an overview of that. It allows you to create your waivers electronically within the Auto Waiver or Smart Waiver system. And then once you have that, all of your waivers loaded into Auto Waiver or Smart Waiver, then we will ping and look for those waivers. So if you add a new waiver, you can bring it into the system, pretty quickly with a few clicks of a button. Another nice feature about that is that about using the integration is that it creates a customer for you if you have created them already in Auto Waiver or Smart Waiver. So if the customer is in their, your waiver software, they sign up, they, put in all their information, they sign the waiver. When you are then at the point of sale or at the range, you can say new customer with waiver, and it'll bring that customer in for you along with all of their information. So you're not having to enter information twice and, once in each system, which is another great feature. And then also keep in mind, it's typically a much better customer experience as well. So maybe they're able to, sign the waiver maybe through your website via a link through your website before they even come into the store. And that's just one, big step they have to skip. Or if they haven't done it previously, at least they can be, on a separate machine, or we have a lot of customers that even just have an iPad that they assign to just specifically for doing waivers. But it seems to be a much better system than, kind of pushing someone down the counter with a pen and paper to get signed and then filing it, et cetera. And then, of course, just the obvious, it allows you to stay within compliance and, for your security, much easier if you're able to keep track of all those waivers electronically and know, when they're expired and, what the status of that customer is very easily. Okay. So again, I'll kind of mention that as we move through the system, but that's kind of the highlight of what I would say about the waiver integrations. Okay. And then again, these online range reservations is specifically for what you want people to be able to book reservations for via the web. Okay. So let me save this. And then I'm going to come down here to the range tab. So yes, we do have a range, obviously, and then the end of transaction post-pay or beginning of transaction prepay. So the system allows you to do the option of both. I would say most of our customers probably do post-pay, but you may have reasons to do prepay. Post-pay means that they're going to come, they're going to check in, you're going to assign them a lane. You may give them, a couple boxes of ammo, eyes and ears, and a couple targets, for example, and then they go into the range. They're out there for maybe a half hour. They come in, say, hey, can I, get a few more boxes of ammo? You can add that to their essentially open ticket. And then once they're done and they're actually checking out, then they would pay for everything at the same time. You can also do it at beginning of transaction or as a prepay, and it just would require them to pay as they are taking items. So on that first pass where they got the eyes and the ears and the ammo and the targets, they would pay. And then if they came back in 30 minutes later and did more ammo, you'd give them that ammo, but then they would pay again as well. The range menu, we'll look at that in the range management service module. It looks very similar to the item menu at the point of sale. So it's, think of like a hot button or a quick add or quick items, something like that. I've heard them called. But it just allows you to click on the screen and add items to their transaction easily without having to actually look up individual items or, have a lot of product numbers memorized or a book of open tickets that they're, scanning at the counter. It's just, right there on the screen for them to add. They're actually using it in the range management module, in the service module. It actually has a little more functionality than the standard POS item menu, which I'll show you. So let me save these. And then I'll move on to setting up kind of the items in your range, let's say. So if I go over to sale tracking, setup, and you'll see I have resource types and then resources/lanes. So resource types are going to be your broad groups. So you can see I have a range and I have a class set up here. So once I look at the schedule, things can be broken down between like lanes in a range or classrooms. Okay. And it's just, you click new, say what type it is. You can say that you want to charge to reserve that on the webs. Maybe you have a reservation fee. And then if there's an applicable waiver, then you can assign it here. So once I have my type set up, then I can get a little more specific and add my lanes, my classrooms, etc. So let's just look at this lane as an example. So you'll name it whatever you typically call them. A lot of times it's just lane 1, lane 2, lane 3. The type is, it's part of the firearms range. Max capacity, I have mine set at 3, so you can set whatever max capacity you have as a policy in the range of people that are allowed in one bay at a time. We're going to mark it active, which just means it's going to show as available. And then display order is just what order you want to show on the schedule. And once you see that, it will probably make a little more sense, but typically, lane 1 shows first, lane 2 shows second, etc. And then using the range, of course, just means that it's something that you will be able to assign from the range. You also can set up classrooms as well. So you'll see I have the 22 LR classroom. And so you would just set up and say, what your max capacity is. And that way it can be booked for things like classes. So once those are set up, I will touch on the training classes. So again, it goes categories and then your actual classes. So categories could be, CCW and then personal defense, and then maybe like advanced pistol, might be all different types of or categories of classes that you offer. But when we get into training classes, I'm just going to do a search here. I have several available to me, but you'll see these are the actual classes that people are able to take with dates assigned. So if I just click on one, it's kind of an older one, but that's okay. And I go to the edit the class. You can set your minimum and maximum participation levels. So, you may say we're only going to do the class if we have 3 people or 5 people. But then you also can set your max as well. That allows, it'll cap out the capacity of the class. Once you make it active, then it's a class that can be sold and booked. And then again, we can add a waiver to it. And then you just start adding your dates and your times. So you can see here, I have, my start time and end time. And you can make it a weekly class, just a one-time class, a 2-night-a-week class, whatever your cadence typically is. Those are all available to you. Okay. And then you can just add new classes as well. But it's just like everywhere within Cumulus, it looks the same whether you're in edit or add. It's just whether there's something there already or not. And then you can actually see if I go over to the, oops, didn't mean to click that. If I go over to the training class schedule, this is truly just a calendar that would show every class that I have booked for each day. So whoever, is managing my classes, they can quickly come into the calendar and look and see. You can view them, you can cancel them, and you can add classes manually from here if you'd like to as well. So let's see. I think the only other thing I wanted to look at just briefly and talk about is memberships and recurring billing. So there's, the sky's the limit when it comes to memberships and how you want to set that up for your range members. And if you even do, some customers just have a kind of a range pass that you pay a small amount each year, and that gives you availability to use the range, whenever you want, but you're going to pay each time. Some have, a bronze, silver, gold, many different types of benefits that go along with each of those. So maybe one membership, any range time is free. And then maybe another level, they pay half price. And then maybe on the lowest level, they get 15% off of range time. You can do things like giving discounts on ammo or certain categories, or even just certain items. Maybe there's just, maybe 3 particular ammo SKUs that you allow them to have a significant discount on to use at the range specifically. So there's a lot of options of what you can do at the range. And that's something, as you're working through setting those up, your implementation manager would work with you and make sure that you have everything that you need categorized. We typically use customer pricing to go along with it. One thing you can also do is set up recurring billing. So there actually is a little bit of setup in, oh, here it is, recurring membership settings. So recurring billing just in general works similar to any other, a gym membership, something like that, where it's going to charge on a certain day of the month and it's a monthly fee that you can also do it annually, but typically it's done monthly, and it's going to charge them, their range membership fee on the first of each month or whatever day you choose. You can make it so that they're not able to make other purchases if their recurring billing is failing. That's an option. And then you can see, you can charge on the first of the month, the 1st and the 15th, or the end of the month. First of the month is typical. Most customers avoid doing it on an exact date, just because then you're at something that then daily you're always having to manage is your failed billing. So if you do it just on the 1st of the month, or even the 1st and the 15th, it's just a little easier for you to manage. If you do the first of the month, it will prorate that first membership sale. So if a membership is $50 a month and they purchase it on the 15th, it would charge them $25 for the remainder of the current month and then another $50 for the following month. And so it would be a $75 charge. And, it would kick in with recurring billing in about a month and a half. Okay. And you can manage the recurring billing from a customer record as well. There's a few different options. It's typically within memberships and rewards, but you can add, just like you can add a ship to or anything like that, it'll be there for you in the back office. And then there's actually a recurring billing option. So you could look for last failure date. So, after your recurring billing has run, you could say, I just want to look for all the recurring billing that failed today or, within the last 7 days. And then that way it gives you a chance to reach out to those customers. And you do have the ability to update a membership payment method for them as well, via either the point of sale or the back office. All right, so I think that covers having everything set up within the system. But if we go, here, I will show quickly just so you can see it. Waivers, not super complex. Again, typically we have an integration to go with this, but you're just going to add in whatever waivers you are and if they're active or not. Once you get into using a waiver integration, like I've talked about, that's when it gives you a little more ability to align those for customers and make sure they're applied to the right things. So the range module is typically managed from the back office. It's typically managed via the service module, and that's what I'm going to show you today. I will say though, just as kind of a food for thought, I guess, as you're watching me go through this, I will show you a little bit of what that functionality looks like in the point of sale as well. But once you decide that you want to use and you talk to your sales executive and you decide that you do want to use the range module and we get it turned on for you, you'll work with your implementation manager to decide what your process is going to be, what works best for your store, your customers, how many machines you have at the range counter. Sometimes you just have one machine there. So we'll talk through different ways to use each part of the system so that it works as smoothly as possible for you. What I'm going to show you today is just basically the standard way to do it, meaning you're doing most things from the service module, and then you're really just going to the point of sale to cash them out. So in the range queue, that's just going to show us anyone that has checked in and has been assigned. Schedule. So this is just showing the schedule as an overview. So this is, if you remember back when we were in system config and I said, typically you put it in 30-minute increments, this is what that's referencing. So you can see I have 30-minute blocks here, and you can go down or up just depending on, what works best for you. There is a key here at the bottom to show what all of these colors mean. So, most of it's white, meaning all these lanes are available. If it's this bright green, it's active. It will show you when a customer is finishing or when they're over time as well, or completed. And then you can, if you book a class, it would show you that the class is using that. So, that in particular would probably be the classroom, but also very well could be a lane of the range they're using. And then you can do blackouts as well. So maybe if you have a range cleaning day, something like that, you can put up blackouts to make sure that nobody books the range. This schedule is duplicated essentially here in the firearms range tab and the classroom tab. It's just breaking it down by your resource type. So remember at the beginning, we kind of had them in bigger chunks. And sometimes people do things like if you have a really large range, maybe there's, 30 bays or more, something like that. You could say, I have a resource type would be bay 1, bay 2, bay 3, and then you're only seeing 10 lanes at a time within each bay, as opposed to having it on the schedule where you're seeing everything all together like this. You can break it down as whatever is necessary for you to make it the most usable. So if I go into reservations, I don't have any right now, but what you could do is start a new reservation, and maybe somebody calls on the phone and says, hey, we're going to be coming in this evening. Can we reserve a couple lanes? So you go to find customer. And they definitely want to use 50-yard lanes. And this is where the default of 60 minutes comes in that that I put in. But you'll see here where you can adjust that very easily. It's past 6 a.m. Okay, so here's my reservation. So they call, or just when they come in, you create this. Either way, there's no, kind of rhyme or reason. If you are using the web integration and people are booking on the web, this is where you would see all of those reservations that were made via the web. You can make changes to it if you need to. But for now, let's just say we're going to check this reservation in. So I get this pop up here, and it allows me, it looks similar, the functionality is similar to the point of sale. Look is different, but the buttons are much the same. And same thing of having the customer tab and the scan tab. So because it was a reservation, I already have my customer name here. And for scan, I'm just going to start adding items. So there's my range time that I'm adding. Let's see, let me add ammo. And then maybe I also, just another way of doing this is using the range menu, and the customer doesn't have their eyes and ears with them, so they need to rent some. So I'm just clicking these items. You'll notice that then I can easily adjust the amount of them. And it also gives me a true, like I know that these items are being added to the point of sale. And I'll show you this, but if you think of it in the item menu in the point of sale, you just kind of get a flicker of a response to show you that the items are being added, whereas here it's truly showing you how many. And then I just click add items, and then you'll see it added those to the transaction as well. You can use a driver's license swipe here to add a customer to the transaction. You can create a new customer or find a customer. New with waiver. So this is if a customer has filled out an electronic waiver via auto waiver or smart waiver, you would click this and it would search for the waivers and allow you to bring in that new customer and their waiver at the same time. I have a waiver assigned to this customer as well, but if I didn't and they just signed today, I could click assign waiver, and then that would allow them to complete their transaction at the range. And then these are the same as what you're used to using, the remove customer, find product, view product, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and save. And it's going to ask me if I want to assign the lane at this point. And I'm going to say yes. It's going to default to the 50-yard lane 1 because that's what they booked their reservation for, but you could change that. Okay. And so now if I go to my range queue, you'll see that Rob Ray is now in my range queue because he's actively on the range. If he, like we mentioned before, he's out on the range and he comes in and says, hey, I need some more ammo, I can come into his spot in the queue, view edit, and I'll add another box of ammo. Oops, if I type it right. Oops, I thought I did. And then it'll add that item to the transaction. And then I just save again. And then we don't need to assign a lane because he's already there. So an hour goes by and now Rob has finished up 45 minutes, however long he's out there. And he comes in and he says, okay, I'm all finished. And we can just go to complete. And are you sure you want to complete the session? And I'll say, okay. Now I can open my point of sale, and I have my buttons configured where everything to do with the range is in, just this one particular folder. But then if I go to range checkout and I click on Rob Ray and complete sale, there's my customer. Okay. And, maybe when he came up to pay, he said, I don't know, I snapped my speed loader as I was in the range. I'm going to need to add another one. You can add more items to the transaction if you need to from here, just like a regular transaction. You also can sell a membership as well. So I think I mentioned, when you sell the membership, it's going to prorate and add it accordingly. So my conference membership is 20 conference 4. And you can see it added that to this transaction. Okay. And then I'll just pay. And he's not going to use his rewards today, but we will donate to Project Child Safe. And then I close the transaction as normal. Okay. And then it's just ready for another one. So if you noticed, when I went to the range checkout, it listed, these are my open, and I'll do a great job of clearing mine out, but these are my open reservations that I have in here. So you would just, once you close it, that actually goes to the top of the screen once it's completed in the back in the service module. This functionality is also available at the point of sale. So again, I don't want to make it seem more complicated than what it is, but just know that you typically will only be using the service module or the point of sale for this functionality, not usually both. And we'll help you talk through which one makes the most sense. But you can pull up any existing reservations or create a new reservation from here at the point of sale. And then you also can do a check-in. So, you would search for a customer and then add any, you'll see these buttons here are actually the same. They just look more like they typically do at the point of sale. And you can check out as well. Okay. As I mentioned, if you have any questions about the range management functionality, of course, your sales executive will be able to help you. But as you're working through setting all of these things up, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a set it and forget it, but it is more, there's some more legwork up front to get all of your memberships in the system, get all of your lanes set up, all of your products in and pricing, for range time and range ammo, those types of things, all of your targets, making sure those are all in the system. But once you get through that initial, setup process that your implementation manager will help you with, the range module really is, it's not overly complicated, but it does everything that it needs to in order to help you, efficiently and smoothly run the range. And so definitely, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, and we look forward to working with you soon.
Hello and welcome everyone. Today we'll be talking about the Range mobile app. First thing to understand is that this app will be branded for your business, and it'll be listed under your name on the mobile shopping stores, mobile app stores like your iCloud, your iTunes, and your Android store. This is fully integrated Range app. What this allows you to do is it allows you to service your members better, and also gives the ability to send them push notifications. So for example, if you want to have range reservation, you can just go into the range and you can select the type of range. Then you select what day you want to go in. So let's say Thursday. And now it's checking the availability, and it's found availability at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 11:30 a.m., 12 p.m. So if you make a reservation for 11 a.m., it gets added to your account. And then if you also want, you can register for classes as well. we list the classes, all the different types of classes that you offer. They're coming straight from your back office. The classes that you have set up in the system, those are the ones that show up on the apps. And then you can see what days they're available on, the time they're available on. And then you can select the one you want. You can add it to cart as well. And then once the customer finishes placing the order on the mobile shopping app, the order goes straight into the back office, and it's ready to be processed, as in it's automatically going to register the user for those classes and will put their name on the roster. For the classes, for the ranges, it's going to put their name, make a reservation under their name, so they can go into the range eventually when it's time and just check in. It makes the process much faster and much better flow for the members. We can take different types of payment options: Apple Pay, Google Pay, credit cards, PayPal, and they're all allowed for range reservations. They're not allowed for firearms purchases, but they're allowed for range reservations. You can have the exact same thing on the website as well. The only difference with the mobile app versus the website is the mobile app basically puts you in their back pocket and also gives you the ability to send push notifications. Push notifications can be sent to anybody who downloaded the app, or only the customers who went as far as logging in or registering, or sending it only to the members. So it depends on your message. You can select the type of recipients and then send out your push notification. It gets delivered instantly. It does not get stuck in spam. Only thing that's a requirement is the customers have to enable push notifications for your app. Once that is done, that's all you need to worry about. And then you can send as many push notifications as you like, and there's no additional charge for it as well. Unlike emails and text messaging, it's free. I hope this was useful, guys. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. Thank you.
That concludes this session. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, please reach out to your implementation manager or account representative. Don't forget, you can refer to the Resources tab under the top navigation panel to download session outlines and more from all of our sessions. Also, be sure to visit our partner booths to check out their special offers and connect with them to enter their giveaways. We'll see you in the next session.